It's pretty obvious to anyone that plays Phantom Forces, but Phantom Forces is pretty riddled with flaws. While it isn't downright unplayable like those games in the past, it still has other flaws, whether it's about gameplay or the player base. Those are the kinds of flaws that I'm gonna be looking at since I actually do read your comments. Please take what I say with a grain of salt. And by no means am I saying that Phantom Forces is straight up bad, it's just riddled with flaws that could be fixed or simply part of the game. Everyone here has known about the shotguns in Phantom Forces. They're pretty overpowered in some cases, and pathetic in others. Especially at close range, if one has the reaction to basically kill anyone on sight, then it's really easy to assume that shotguns are pretty overpowered, especially in the CQC maps. And yes, we're especially looking at the AA-12. While it doesn't one-shot in all ranges, just like the KS-23 or something, its rate of fire basically makes up for in the damage department. Long story short, it usually takes 3 to 4 pellets to kill someone at close ranges. However, thanks to the spread of the shotguns, most shotguns could 2 to 3 shot at medium ranges. While shotguns did receive nerfs here and there, they're still pretty overpowered. However, one could say that if nerfed too much, the shotguns could become borderline useless since it cannot be used past point blank range. Shotguns are pretty hard to balance. If the spread is too tight, then it could be used potentially at long ranges. If the spread is too wide, then it cannot be used past point blank ranges. You also have to take in the per pellet damage into consideration. So basically, the devs really have to try to find a balance between pellet damage and shotgun spread. While this partially does not apply to the KS-23M thanks to its tight spread, it does have a downside that in a sense makes it balanced, and that is its rate of fire. However, with other guns that use 12 gauge, it's really hard to find the perfect medium. There really is no true solution to shotguns, really. The best I can think of is to make most shotguns require 4 pellets to kill, and maybe 5 or 6 at distances. Although the KS-23M doesn't really need to change since it's already balanced as it is. Of course, like I said, take my words with a grain of salt. I know that some of you are already typing in the comments about how the KS-23M is OP and how it could be used at basically snipers distances, but you have to bear in mind that it doesn't exactly have the same effectiveness as an actual sniper rifle. As for the AA-12, there's really nothing that Stylus could do. It's basically doomed from the start. And something tells me that Stylus really isn't going to remove the AA-12 soon. The best they could do really is just to slap some nerfs on it and call it a day. Battles between automatic weapons usually rely on a few things: reaction, accuracy, and usually the rate of fire. Since most automatic weapons kill within 4 shots, it's most likely that the one who fires faster wins. Common knowledge, really. Just like the shotguns, there isn't really much of a true solution I could come up with. Nerfing the damage would only make it worse, and changing rate of fire is a bad idea overall. But then again, it's really easy to counter those with fast-firing weapons. Even with the AKM, I am able to beat those that have guns that usually fire faster than it. It's mostly a matter of reaction at that point. Now, there are some guns worth mentioning that are pretty broken, and that's also part of the flaws of Phantom Forces. While the M60 isn't as overpowered as it used to be, it's still pretty strong. Even at distances, it's still able to 3-shot kill. Shotguns were already explained before, and the 50 cal sniper rifles are able to one-shot at all distances. To be fair, Phantom Forces has dug itself to the ditch when it comes down to making weapons. Then there's the case of weapons that aren't really worth its rank. A perfect example of this is the M60. It is unlocked at a very early rank, at rank 19, and its power really isn't worth that of a rank 19 gun. That's an example of a gun that's underranked. A perfect example of a gun that's overranked is the AK-12C. When you really take a look at it, the AK-12C is just a poor man's AK-74. And it doesn't really have the features that the AK-12 series have. It lacks a proper burst feature that all AK-12s have. And especially the fact that you get it after the AK-47, and the AK-12C is actually inferior to the AK-47. I don't think it's worth its rank. The current meta also has a lot of problems. For one, there will never be a game without at least one shotgun user, one BFG user, people that use broken ARs and SMGs, deagles, machine pistols, and other secondaries. While there are people that use pistols, they're not as common as the secondaries that I have mentioned. Frankly, there is no solution to this as well. Gameplay-wise, Phantom Forces has a lot of flaws as well. For one, the spawn locations are very iffy. If someone spawned on random, they could possibly spawn next to the enemy. And even if you don't spawn on random, spawning on teammates is also pretty iffy as well. This can lead to the case of what is known as the clown cars. In other words, after you shoot someone else spawns on him. Supposedly, when a person is shot at, the person is considered in combat. However, due to how fast the time to kills in Phantom Forces are, someone could simply spawn the instant before they get shot at, thus spawning on a dead person. The solution to this is actually quite simple. Make it so that the instant one takes health damage or gets suppressed, the person should be marked as in combat. But then again, the suppression tag is a bit iffy. Well, not only could you spawn in front of the enemy, if you spawn in a certain area, the enemy could potentially spawn trap you. This is especially an issue in CTF Metro. The flaw itself in that case is more of the map design rather than spawn location. This is entirely subjective, but Capture the Flag should not be on sniper maps. On one hand, it does promote aggressive play on what is otherwise a passive map. However, at the same time, those that play aggressive are more likely to die and not have fun since the snipers could just pick them off at a distance. And if I'm gonna be brutally honest, most of the player base don't really have the skill to avoid snipers. And this one always bugs me. The kill confirmed point system. To put it short, every kill you get 50 points. Every tag you collect, you get 100 points. That's good, right? Wrong. One could get more points just by assist count as kill. If I'm gonna be real honest, killing in kill confirmed is just not worth it. I mean, sure, there are people that manage to get top scoring with only kills and kill confirmed, but let's be real, the ones that run around and go get tags are the ones that usually get the most points. Given you do get 25 points for every tag your teammate confirms for you, but it doesn't really seem that worth it since it basically promotes those that run around rather than actually killing. The player base. Where do I start here? For starters, the player base is mostly filled with tryhards, sweats, and potentially hackers. There have been multiple instances where a hacker has been spotted cheating, yet I see people voting no for some reason. I do see that there are two reasons why. There are the kids that wanted to be carried by the hackers, or there are people that just wanted to see the game burn. I had no idea why, but there are some people that even praise hackers for some reason. I'll touch in a bit more about the hacker situation in the Roblox platform category. The equipment. It's been there for years and it seems like an empty promise. Even in the Phantom Forces test plays, there are no plans to add equipment. To put it shortly, just remove the equipment if it's not going to be added. Melee in Phantom Forces has always been iffy. Unlike most games where melees are usually one-hit kills, Phantom Forces has a few quirks to it. For one, some melees have a headshot multiplier while others don't, and some melees have better damage than others. However, that's not my main point here. My main point is that the backstab hitboxes are pretty iffy. Sometimes you could stab the front and the game would register it as a backstab. This is especially apparent with the Karambit apparently. It is said that the Karambit has a broken backstab hitbox property, and melee's overall just really doesn't make sense. A Karambit has better luck at killing someone than a lightsaber or a katana. When you think about it, lightsaber should be the most overpowered melee in Phantom Forces, since it is known to be able to cut almost everything. Overall, the Roblox platform is flawed as well. For starters, Roblox does not have an anti-cheat software. Every game has at least one hacker, and Phantom Forces is no exception. The Roblox engine requires a lot of updating, and because it requires a lot of updating, the code needs to be updated as well. I had forgotten when this started, but if you take a closer look at someone that is standing still, you could see him being twitchy and jittery. While this isn't one of my complaints, a bunch of tryhards have complained that Roblox is locked at 60 FPS. This means that you need a frame unlocker in order to play it as if it's just like any other game. And thanks to how easy it is to make an account on Roblox, there can be many Smurf, hacking, and bot accounts. Although one can argue that smurfing isn't really a big deal. This one is also a subjective one. There are many useless conversions and prototypes in the game. To be fair, they act more like filler guns rather than actual content. When you really stop to think about it, this basically goes back to my point about how some guns aren't really worth its rank. For one, we have many AK-12 prototypes, and some are even denounced as fictional like the AK-12C. There are others that aren't really even named correctly. I don't know why, but it seems that I can't stop bashing the AK-12C. There's just so many things wrong with it, like how it's supposed to be named the AK-15K, how it isn't real, and just how underperforming it is. There are also some other conversions that virtually no one use. For the AK series, I never see anyone use the shotgun conversions for it. And don't get me started with the Sega 12 conversions. Buying weapons has its perks and downsides. On one hand, it helps with grinding since you're gonna be limited in options early on in the game. On the other hand, low-ranking guns that are overpowered could be bought rather easily and could be abused. So I have a few ideas, and it's actually rather easy to fix them. For one, the 50 BMG rifles should be locked. This includes the HEC-8, the BFG-50, the M107, and the SFG-50. Certain shotguns should be locked as well, like the hated AA-12, the DBV-12, and possibly the KS-23M as well. Some could say that the shotgun category should be locked overall, and I certainly think that certain LMGs should be locked like the M60, the HK-21, and the MG3. Vaulting is an important feature in Phantom Forces. You could vault over some barricade while retaining speed. However, vaulting is pretty iffy in this game. Unlike Unit Classified, where vaulting is just a simple animation, Phantom Forces have you basically float above the air for a bit before letting you back down. And it doesn't matter if you're sprinting or walking forward, you're gonna vault either way. This could lead to a few problems, especially when you could vault while aiming down sights. When you vault while aiming down sights, your gun will basically aim somewhere else other than the center. This effectively leaves you open. In Phantom Forces, your gun shoots wherever your gun points. And there's one more thing that's very wrong with vaulting. If you go up to a certain angle and vault, you will basically be launched into the air. While the trickshotting community would definitely appreciate this bug, most people don't. If anything, it will either kill you or severely weaken you. Fixing the vaulting mechanics is easier said than done, really. The way to fix the vaulting mechanics is basically to build it up from scratch again. I get that vaulting is very important in terms of mobility. However, the way that Stylus presents the vaulting mechanic is very flawed. And judging by how vaulting works, I don't think a few tweaks here and there would solve it. They would have to redo the vaulting mechanics. And that concludes the flaws of Phantom Forces. I know that there's probably some that I've missed, so feel free to put it in and I'll probably make a part 2 out of it. With that in mind, I'm not saying that Phantom Forces is by no means a bad game, it's just riddled with flaws just like every other game.